Namaste, my name is Sahara Rose, and welcome back to the Highest Self podcast, a place where we discuss what makes you your soul's highest evolvement. If it is your first time listening to the Highest Self podcast, welcome. Thank you to your spirit guides for bringing you here. Thank you to your ancestors for the lives they've lived to bring you to where you are at this moment. And if you listen to the Highest Self podcast episode all the time, you're already thanking your guides and your ancestors. So what it do? Welcome, boo. And let's get into one of our favorite topics on the Highest Self podcast, which are past lives. Now, this is a topic that one of my first episodes on Highest Self podcast was about. I think it's episode number 5. If you really go back to the beginning, you'll see all about past lives, and I discuss my concept of past lives, how I came to realize mine. But since then, I've been wanting to do more like actual work around past lives, because for me, past lives came sort of intuitively. Like I would start to think about what are the things that come naturally to me. You know, I've always loved to speak in Spanish, and that came very naturally to me. And I love Latin culture and music, and just something about the culture really feels like home to me. So that must have been a past life. And, you know, India, and especially when I went to Jaipur and Rajasthan and being in that palace, I actually knew my way around. I was walking around Rambagh Palace, and I knew where everything was, and I knew that was a past life. So they came through me kind of coincidentally, a little bit more so, okay, well, this culture or this time period feels really at home for me, so this must have been a past life for me, which I still totally resonate with. But I've come to find that there are other ways to realize your past life. And I think these ways are super beneficial for us to, you know, see things from a different perspective, because a lot of the past lives that have come through from doing actual past life regressions were definitely not lives that I would have expected for myself. So I've done an episode a couple months ago with Elena of Quantum Hypnosis Healing Technique. The episode is called QHHT with Elena. And it's about a method called Quantum Hypnosis Healing Technique, which is a very deep form of hypnosis that actually takes you back to the deepest state where you can go into your past lives and the lives in between lives. So I also found Jeroen. And Jeroen, he is actually from North Europe. I want to say Finland or Norway, but he's such an amazing soul, and he actually practices QHHT as well. And his style, everyone's style is just different, but I found him because he actually was the person who, if you've ever read the book, The Boy Who Knew Too Much, or saw that movie, he was the person that regressed the mother who remembered that she was Babe Ruth's mom. So if you're not familiar with that book or movie, essentially it is about a little boy who began to remember his life as Babe Ruth. He began to remember that he won this World Series and the games and his friends and how he was backstabbed by someone, like all of these very, very specific details about Babe Ruth that even aren't in books. And this boy was young, like 5 years old or something. His mom never introduced him to Babe Ruth. They weren't baseball players. Like, there's no way this kid could have known. But he knew specific details about being in Babe Ruth's life. So his mom was very apprehensive and not sure what to make of this. So she decided to go look up a past life regressionist, and she found Jeroen, who we have on the podcast today. And she regressed into her life as Babe Ruth's mother. So they actually came back into this life again as mother and son. But in that life, it was back in the 50s or whenever Babe Ruth was around. And now it's in the year 2000s. So he's a very, very powerful regressionist. And I love his approach because he's very calm. He's very gentle. He really just lets you have your own experience and holds the space for you. And that's what this whole QHHT method by Dolores Cannon is all about. It's not about telling you what your past lives are. Like, I've had readers tell me, oh, in your past life, you were founding father of America, you were a Japanese businessman, like telling me these things that honestly, my immediate response was a rejection, because I'm like, founding father of America, I feel like I was a Native American, not the founding father. But everyone has their own perspective, but that's not what QHHT is about. It's actually about taking you into a very, very deep state of relaxation that you can see what comes up. So in this episode, at the end of the episode, I actually share what came up for me when I was under hypnosis with Jeroen. And it was so beautiful because, at least for me, when I'm under hypnosis, I can still feel that I'm here. I can still feel that I'm in my body. I can still feel that I'm in the room. Like, I'm not totally out of my body. Like, a level of my personality is still there. So I could feel when I was saying these lives, I'm like, why am I saying this? Like, I was saying some weird shit. You guys are going to hear it, like weird shit. And I was like, there's no way that this was my past life. Am I just making this up right now? But I just kept going with it. I just kept saying whatever was coming through my head. And with every single lifetime after I died, I was clearly able to see what the lesson was and what it means for my life today. And that's what the whole point of this is. It's not about, people are like, well, what's the point of knowing a past life? It's just not about like, oh, cool, I was in the Vietnam War, or I used to live in Colombia. It's about knowing, how did this life teach me a lesson that can benefit this life? It's a tool of personal development. It is the deepest tool of personal development, because our souls came into this lifetime knowing different things. And that's why some of us, we have struggles and obstacles in certain areas and others do not. Because that has to do with our soul imprint that we came to this planet with. So in this episode, we talk all about that. We talk about his concept, what he's seen for regressing thousands of people. What are the commonalities he's seen? How oftentimes what comes through us is different according to our own consciousness. We talk about how some people, they see things very numerically. They're like, oh, I'm in the 7.6th dimension with the star plane 8833. And it's like very like numerical. Whereas other people are like, I'm blue and everything is blue, and just way more abstract, right? It's like, if I were to tell all of you guys to draw a painting right now, some of you guys would make like a chart that's super symmetrical and methodical, and others of you would just start splattering paint around. Others of you would make something really fine and delicate, and others of you would make something really bold. And that has to do with the consciousness that exists inside of you. So the way that we regress in terms of our past lives also has to do with our own consciousness, which has to do with our personality in this lifetime, because our soul is much deeper than our personality. Our personality is like the layer on top of that. Our soul is eternal. Our soul has existed across all lifetimes. Like, when any lifetime you've ever experienced, it's the same soul that's existed throughout it. But your personalities are different. You actually may have been a ruthless authoritarian in a past life, or a murderer, or something else really dark and evil. But through acknowledging that that was your past life, you're able to, 1, have compassion for that side of yourself, and 2, see what was the lesson that that lifetime taught me that I needed to know about today. So we're going to talk all about past lives, the past lives that came through me, and how you can also tap into your past lives, whether it's through past life regression or in your own way. So I know you guys are going to love this episode, because the episodes about past lives on the Highest Self podcast do extremely well, because you guys are so woke. I love it. People are like, tell me about your audience. I'm like, they're like the spiritual 1%. Literally, you guys are so amazing. I'm so glad that I don't have to water things down, even though I wouldn't. But it's just incredible that you're here and you're like, yes, let's get into it. Like, I love you. Can't wait to hang out with you guys at the Rose Gold Goddesses launch parties, which we have coming up this fall. Rose Gold Goddesses is my new membership community, bridging together us sisters around the world for monthly goddess circles. We have our own interactive app with location services, so you can find the other goddesses that live near you. Forum where we can talk about past lives, Ayurveda, crystals, channeling, menstrual cycles, tantra, all of the things. Live events, including the launch parties taking place in LA, New York, and Miami this fall, members only, and having them in San Francisco, Chicago, throughout Canada. other places in the spring. I'm open to partnering up with people to come to your city, and this is all going to be part of Rose Gold Goddesses. It is essentially taking this platform of the podcast and creating a community around it. So if you want to learn more about that or be part of the waitlist when we launch on September 1st with our Rose Gold Goddesses Challenge, which is going to be embodying 5 goddess archetypes. And by the way, many of us have been goddesses in our past lives. Goddesses are not reserved for, only one person was a goddess and that's it. No, the goddess archetypes are so immense that most of us have had past lives as certain goddesses. And that's why certain goddesses resonate with us, because we're recognizing that in ourselves. Like Saraswati has been a major past life of mine. And she is the goddess of creativity, of knowledge, of reading, of literature, of wisdom, music, arts. The moment I heard about her, I felt like at home. And that's what I want to bring in Rose Gold Goddesses. I want you to learn about the different goddess archetypes and see, which are the ones that fit like a glove and which are the ones that I'm less familiar with. Maybe they're scary and weird to me. Like when I heard about Kali and Durga, I was like, no, not into those. Like Durga, aggressive, Kali, crazy. And now I've totally channeled my inner Durga and my inner Kali. And I saw that those were shadow aspects of myself that I hadn't fully stepped into. And by fully stepping into them, I was able to become more strong and powerful and courageous to step up into my Saraswati. And by going through the Kali, I was able to destroy and transform and let go of all that is not serving me so I could step up into my inner Saraswati. So we need the different goddesses for different points of our lives. They take us to another place. And that's why it's essential to tap into all of the goddess archetypes, because they all exist inside of you. Just like for past lives, you don't just have one past life. You have thousands of past lives potentially, and they all are teaching you different aspects of yourself. And the same thing goes with the goddesses. We all have a fierce side of ourselves, a sensual side of ourselves, a creative, a powerful, a dedicated, a meditative. We have all of these sides to ourselves. And when we can tap into them as the divine goddess, we're able to embody the divine goddess that exists inside of us. So if you want to learn more about that, join the waitlist, learn about the 5-day free challenge that we are doing starting September 1st, head over to rosegoldgoddesses.com. Again, it's rosegoldgoddesses, plural.com. I'll have the link to that in the show notes, and I will send you over more information. Without further ado, let's welcome Jeroen to the Highest Self podcast. If you're listening to this podcast, I don't even need to tell you how good turmeric is for you, but I am going to tell you how you can take your turmeric game up a notch. So I've been drinking Vadam Tea's new turmeric line, and they have these 4 teas that I've been rotating on a daily basis, which I want to share with you. We're about to get a little Ayurvedic nerdy right now. So in the morning, I'll have the turmeric spice tea, which is really good for the digestive system, getting things stimulated, waking up the Agni. After lunch, I'll have the turmeric ginger tea, which is really good for digestion and enhances pitta, which is highest in the middle of the day. At night, I'll have the turmeric ashwagandha tea, which relieves stress, just gets my body ready to sleep. And then right before I sleep, I'll have the turmeric moringa tea, which acts as a natural laxative, because you gotta detoxify. So I love these 4 teas together, and they actually come in the new turmeric line that Vadam is offering. So head over to vadamteas.com, VAHDAM teas.com, and use coupon code Sahara for 20% off. Again, that's vadamteas.com with coupon code Sahara for 20% off. Namaste and welcome, Jeroen, to the Highest Self podcast. It's so good to have you here.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
The first question I would love to ask you is, what makes you your highest self?
For me, it is joy, because I think we are our purpose. Our purpose is encoded in us, and being in our joy brings it out in us, because it's joyful to express yourself completely as yourself. So not according to conventions of society, but I think we're all here to be unique emanations or expressions of source. And so it's joyful to express that.
So beautiful. And that's definitely been one of my intentions this year. Just more joy, fun, and play.
Mine too.
Yes. That's the wave that we're on. I think that hustle mentality is like, nope, can only take you so far. And the next way forward is just to surrender to joy.
Yes. Yeah, I agree.
So I would love to know a little bit about what got you interested into past life regression.
All right. So it could be a long story or a short story. I'll try to keep it concise. As a kid, I was always interested in the unseen worlds. I had to sense that there was something out there, even though I didn't see it or experience it. I remember, I'm from Europe, I'm from the Netherlands. I remember going out to the forest for walks and then looking into like hollow trees and seeing if I see little elves or tiny little chairs and tables that belong to the gnomes. Or
So cool.
I was always looking for proof of it, and so I didn't find it, and I certainly didn't find it in the religion that I was raised in. And so when I was 8 years old, my mom was a librarian, and she brought home books for us to read, and I had read through all the fiction, like fairy tale books and science fiction for myself. And then I found a book on her nightstand that was about out-of-body experiences from the Monroe Institute. Picked it up, started reading it, and I was like, this is the shit. This is true. This is how it is. I just knew it. And so it just added to my belief that there was more out there than people knew about in my environment. Then when I was in my 20s, I had my spiritual awakening, and it was kind of hard. And it prompted me to start receiving healing. And in doing so, I found out about human consciousness, that we're multidimensional beings. So it corroborated what I had known somewhere. And in learning these healing methods, as I was able to be healed myself and experience the benefits of it, I wanted to do this for other people. I thought it was extremely beautiful how healing processes are very customized and very individual to all of us, really acknowledging and affirming our unique expressions as beings on the planet. So I wanted to help other people to be more authentic in their lives. And then I read a book by Dolores Cannon in 2006, a book called Custodians, and it resonated so amazingly that I just wanted to find out who this lady was. And she ended up teaching 3 months later in the Netherlands, where I was at the time. And so I was able to take her course, and I've been happily regressing ever since.
That's amazing. So more than 20 years.
No, it's like 2006.
Oh, I'm like, what year are we in? I'm like 2006. A long time.
A long time, yes.
13 years, yes. That's so beautiful. And I love how from such a young age, you were like, oh, this is what I want to do. And you just went for it. And I mean, it's so rare to see that, because most of us, it's a childhood thing, and then we lose touch of it.
Yeah, I can't say that I was young, because now I'm 47. So it was like in my 30s that happened. But I started doing energy work in 1999. So it was in my 20s, I think. As a kid, I had no concept of these things even being around. So my best guess at what I wanted to be, when I grew up, was an artist, and then when I learned about all this healing stuff, it got more specific.
Well, you definitely have a lot of Vata creative energy to you.
Yes.
So for people listening who are like, what is a past life? Like, can you just explain to them, for the person who's maybe heard the term before, but they don't really understand what it is?
Sure. So, I mean, we're talking about something that is beyond the human realm of experience in general. And so my way of looking into it or describing it is going to be different from the next person. I can't say that I know the truth, because I'm focused in this body, in this human existence. So I'm going to perceive and explain things from this human perception. So as far as I've learned through my work with people, is that past life is not an accurate descriptor of it. So my best model, how I work with this, is that we are more or less individuated souls, individuated from source, and we decide to go into different experiences all at once. Maybe you've heard that there is no time. So at the level of the soul, there's no time. It's only in the third dimension that there's time and space. So how I look at it is as if there is a soul, and we split off into different experiences that are all happening at once. Somehow, my human mind goes into overload when I think about it, but that's how I deal with it. So, yeah, past life, future life, parallel life. What else is there? Yeah, different dimensional lives. It's all the same thing. Meaning, of course, it's different experiences and different levels of existence, but it's all somehow happening right now.
So do you think that these were actual past lives, or they're lives that we are simultaneously experiencing right now?
Simultaneously. From the perception of the soul, from the human experience, it's a different way of looking into it.
Okay. Yeah. Because when people say, well, I was around in the 17th century or this or that, so from this perspective, would you say that 17th century is also happening right now?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand this, but for people who are listening are like, I don't get it. So for me, what made that realization of like time doesn't exist was the first time, not the first time, but one of the first times I took psychedelic mushrooms. And I remember people saying, oh, time isn't real. I'm like, I'm pretty sure if I'm running late, time is real. Or if the seasons change, or 9 months to have a baby, like this is time and it's real. So how can you say it's not real? It never made sense to me. And something with that mushroom just made me like realize that it's all happening in the now. So if you think about just like a blob and it's like all happening, but it's too much for us to comprehend, so it gets stretched out in time. That's the way that I saw it. So I still, what I'm trying to understand, I'd love your perspective is, was it a past life on any realm? Or do you think not at all? It's all still happening now. Like, do you think from like a little less of a quantum life, it was in the past?
I don't quite know, because that's interesting matter to talk about. What I think is that it depends on our level where we focus from. So from this, we're focused in the human perspective right now, the human life. So I think from this perspective, there might be time. I'm not quite sure. It's just my brain can barely process the information because it's human. You know, I don't know. I know that when I'm in meditation myself, or you know, my clients, I don't know if you experienced as well, like people come out of their session and they go, I ask them like, how long did you feel it took? And they go like, 20 minutes. And then there's 2 hours of recording. Did you have any? I forgot.
I felt like I was noticing, I mean, when I was in the regression, I wasn't observant of time at all, but I felt like my body was getting like, oh, I want to move. And that physical reminder was reminding me of time. It was the human of me, that's like, we're lying down for a long time and, you know, getting angsty, but then my mind was going into all these different realms.
Right. So this is how I see past life regression. It's really that we access different resources in our soul, these different experiences and expressions of our soul that are happening right now. We're kind of bridging over into them and getting like healing energy, healing codes from them that are helpful with our life right now. That's how I personally see it.
So beautiful. So how can we know our past lives?
Well, there's different ways, of course. Come see me for past life regression. But
highly recommended.
But also people sometimes experience them just spontaneously, you know, when they go travel and they're hit with like people going to Egypt, they experience it a lot, that they have some kind of connection. Or
do you think everyone's had a past life in Egypt?
No, I don't think everybody has, but a lot of people that I'm encountering do. Yeah. So those are ways you might spontaneously experience it, or taking psychedelics, or meditation even. Those are the things I can think of. Yeah, there's different ways for sure.
So how can we know if this was something that's a past life, or it's just an affinity we have, affinity to a culture or way of living, etc.?
So from my perspective, these affinities are determined by experiences in different places and different times. So there's more to it than just an affinity. I think as human beings, we're always processing or connecting with these different experiences that we're having somewhere else or sometime else. Yeah. So that's how I see all of these aspects of our personality, that they've been brought in on purpose to craft your personality in this lifetime to have the experiences that you want to have here.
Totally. And I think, exactly how you said, if you really relate to Native American culture, or like an ancient Chinese dynasty, or ancient Egypt or Lemuria or whatever it is, it's not a coincidence.
Exactly.
It's some sort of memory that's bringing you back there. So do you find that we have sort of like these soul contracts with different lives that we have to kind of go back in there and relive that lifetime in this lifetime to do some sort of healing?
Yes, I do believe, like for me, the word contract always feels kind of limiting. So whenever people bring it up, I usually feel into like what's behind it, why do people want to know about it? I think soul contract in terms of just adding the parameters to our existence that will help us, that are supportive to create the life that we're here to be. And so sometimes when I get to working with people and our contracts that have been limiting, it doesn't mean that, oh, whoopsie, there's something that's carried over, but it's been part of their life in their current lifetime for a purpose to a certain extent, to get them to learn certain things and then to release it. So I don't believe in, universe taking a wrong turn or source taking a wrong turn. It's all supportive of us becoming more authentic.
So a lot of people, I put on my Instagram some questions, and a lot of people were wondering, well, how can I know if a trauma in this life is related to a past life, or it's something that happened in this lifetime that maybe I'm not aware of?
It depends on how much you are aligned with your intuition. So you could ask your own higher self, or just feel into the experience and ask it. If you have access to that, that's one way to find out. Or you can go see an Akashic Records reader, or come see me, or there's different ways of tapping into that. Yeah.
So what are the types of traumas that people carry over from past lives?
I wouldn't say there's one type, or it can be anything. Yeah. And like I said, maybe I can give an example of myself. So I was doing a process as part of my schooling, where I went into a past life where I was part of the Inquisition that used to judge and convict people of heresy. And so in that lifetime, I was happily judging along, sending people to their grave because I thought I was doing the right thing. And at the end of my life, well, not halfway down my life, I realized that I was just executing orders and trying to belong to the Catholic Church. And so I realized what I'd been doing, and I secluded myself from society. I went to go live in a little hut in the forest. And I believed that I didn't deserve any love because what I had done was unforgivable. And so as a person, I judged myself as unforgivable. And that sense of being unforgivable, I carried into this lifetime. So there was something about me that I felt like there was something flawed and intrinsically wrong or unforgivable about me. And it kept me in a place of insecurity and not having a lot of self-confidence. And looking back at it, this trauma was necessary to have me have certain experiences in this lifetime that finally helped me to embrace my own authenticity and to release the judgments. And so, I mean, people think about this almost like it's an accident that you bring it in. I don't believe in that from my perspective. So I think it is all very, very purposeful. For me, it enabled me to do the work that I'm doing now, so I can sort of sniff out the trauma and the reasons why people have them and help people move through them and become more empowered. Yeah.
That's so beautiful and such a great example of that. So when you went through that life, was that feeling of feeling unforgivable released?
It was, yeah. Yeah. Like afterwards, I felt lighter. Yeah, and that was really weird. I mean, weird. It was just like I felt lighter at some parts of my consciousness. Yeah.
So do you think fears like fear of flying or fear of drowning, etc., are related to past lives?
Can be. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I can't say if it's in all cases, but all the cases that I've worked with, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, because I know some people who are like, I love the ocean, but something about it just makes me afraid of drowning. And I wonder if they probably drowned in a past life.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know why that particular fear, like, I can't say that fear is there for a certain reason, like as a sort of blanket statement, because most of us have had many, many different past lives. It's not that you just have one where you drown, then, oh my God, now this is the big thing that you carry over. It's there for a reason, and it's different for everybody.
So you think that even something like fear of drowning or fear of flying is serving you in some way?
I think so, yes. Yeah. I can't say why that is, but maybe it is, to have the experiences on the ground if you have fear of flying, or to travel, by train or by car and have experiences doing that. I don't know what that would be. But there might also be a purpose to knowing how to conquer that fear in this lifetime so you can help others do the same thing.
Yeah, or even to overcome that fear is the strength that you needed to fulfill something that you need to do in this lifetime.
Exactly, yes. So in that sense, I think it's all on purpose. It's not like, oh, whoopsie, flaw in the system. Yeah.
Love that. Yeah. So people have asked, how many lifetimes has the average human had? I know, very human question. I've asked this in the past too. I'm like, how many times have we been here? Yeah.
It is a question that a lot of people want to find out about.
Yeah.
It needs distinction because people have not just human lifetimes, but lifetimes in different realms, different planets. So I think it's different for all of us. There is no set number to it. I work with people that seemingly have lots of Earth lifetimes, and then people that just come in straight from source or from an angelic realms, or sometimes they give me the number of the density level that they're from, like 12th or 9th or 6th. And they just come here straight to Earth in a human body.
Wow.
Or
So when they do a past life regression, they don't have anything to regress to?
well, they do. They go back to source or
Okay.
to this angelic realm where things work differently than they do here. Yeah, I had a client not too long ago who had 3 earthly lifetimes. One was as a plant long, long time ago. Then the next one was as a horse pulling a carriage. And then the third one was the one that she was in right now as a human being.
Wow.
So this was kind of a fast track through physical experiences on the planet, different levels of it, to prep herself for a human experience.
Do you feel like the more lifetimes we've had as a human, the easier things are?
I don't know if it's possible to say that as a statement. So for my own experience, I've had a lot of lifetimes here. Things are easier now because I've just
Been there,
mastered,
done that.
yeah, been there, done it. I've mastered a lot of the learning, so a lot of the crudeness and the density. It's not something that I need to experience in this lifetime. Excuse me. But I don't know if that goes for everybody. It's hard to place rules on these things that are not sort of quantifiable from a human perspective.
Right. In the Vedas, they say that it takes 70,000 lives to become a human. That's what they say. And that the animals that you are right before being a human are horse. That's like the highest consciousness. And I think dog also. From that perspective, I'm like, 70,000 is a lot of lifetimes.
There's a lot of lifetimes,
but
right.
I'm wondering, maybe you start as a plant and then you're like an ant and then you're a bee and then you're a butterfly and kind of like work your way up in consciousness.
I think some of us do it that way, but there's also others like the newer souls right now, they just, they skip all that and they just fast forward.
And do you think, more of the youth are being born as like the rainbow children?
I do, yes.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, when I work with younger people, it's usually rainbows and unicorns. It's very easy to work with and tapping into other realms.
So do you think it's because their souls just came straight down from source, or do you think that right now it's just easier for us to talk about these things so they have less of the societal conditioning?
I think it's both. I think the generations before us have sort of prepped the way for these newer souls to come in vibrationally. And so there's both a little bit more openness, but also they're able to come in holding a higher frequency. So they don't have to go through all the stuff that the generations before had to go through.
Yeah, I feel like the youth especially, they're like, they say that like the indigo children, which are kind of like this generation that's older now, had to pave that path of like go through dealing with their parents and this, and it's a very personal journey, whereas the kids now are just like, I'm going to save the oceans, I'm going to do this, and they're just unapologetic about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then about their gender expressions or whatever the fuck they want to do. Yeah, it's
pretty
good to see.
And I feel like a lot of incredible souls are coming through because we're so needed right now that source is like, send them on down, fix the issues.
Thank God, yes, that's happening. It's amazing to see.
Yeah. So how much of it do you think is free will versus destiny?
I don't know. I think the more you are aligned with your higher self, so the less sort of dense human levels you have to conquer, the less you would want to divert from what you're here to be. But yeah, I think there's ways of, making little detours. But I don't quite know. I wouldn't know how to say that. My guess is it doesn't quite work in within that binary of free will or not that we like to look at it from. Yeah, but I'm not quite sure. My sense of it, my feelings are that there is, I feel a guiding force in my life, and that all the things that are happening are there for a reason. And so I feel like I have free will. But still, maybe it's like parallel lives. Like, have you heard this concept where, every decision you make, it's getting lived out in some other parallel universe? Maybe that's what it is, that you're getting to live all of these choices. And so you feel like there's free will. I don't know.
Yeah. It's like that movie. It's like, do you choose milk or orange juice? And your life ends up drastically different because of that one decision. Yes. Though in this case, it's like orange essence water and almond milk. We don't drink milk and orange juice. But yeah, it's interesting, and it's something that I even grapple with. I'm sure every single listener has wondered, if it's meant to be, then shouldn't I just sit back and it's going to happen? But then there's action needed on this plane. So it's knowing how much action to take and how much to sit back and let it happen.
Yes, and for me, like referring back to the joy, like if life is given meaning by the things that you do in it, you know, and if you feel joy doing certain things, you know, joys that are specific to you, I mean, you might as well do something instead of sit back, you know, go out in the world and do whatever it is that makes you feel joyful. I think that's how our purpose gets expressed. It's just, that's the driving force behind action, I think, in my life and
For sure.
people's lives, yeah.
Yeah, definitely doing things that are in alignment with your Dharma bring you so much joy that it helps you overcome the less joyful parts of it.
Yes, and like, of course, there's like times where you just want some rest or just, you know, something is gestating inside of you. But yeah, I do want to do, I love working with clients, and I do love to go into nature. I love to, you know, drink tea, or like all these things that I love to do. At one point of just sitting back and letting it all happen, it's very boring.
Totally.
Yeah.
So a big part of Dolores's work is kind of the in-between lifetimes and speaking directly to that soul, the source. So can you share with us a little bit about that?
Yeah, there's a lot to share about it. So it's
what happens between lifetimes?
So it looks like all of us go into this place that is more loving, more peaceful. It's light or dark. It can be the nothingness or the light of source. Some of us meet loved ones. There can be a review of the lifetime you just came out of. Generally, there's like a like triage, like, you know, coming out of a rough lifetime, you get help just letting it all go and cranking up your frequency again. There's usually guides there. There's schooling possible as well if you want to go into like angel school, or how to be a guide, or how to help.
I want to go to this.
Right? Or how to help souls that are dying to cross over. That's also a thing that you can learn. Yeah, it's a wonderful place to work, and depending on where people's evolution is or their frequency is, that you can have a very, very tangible experience during your past life regression in that realm. Like guides will come in and you can talk to them, and they give, it's almost like, you know, part of the process of QHHT, the method that Dolores designed, is talking to the higher self, the subconscious mind. But before we get there, I usually try to get like my first opinion, you know, second opinion later, from a guide or an ascended master that might be present in that life in between life place. And it has its own perspective on my client's lifetime, and it can look into the body and see what needs to be healed. And then later we take it to the subconscious mind, which is the authority of it all. And I usually double check, like, was all that information accurate and complete, and is anything needing to be added? That's where the magic happens, I think, in those realms.
And does everyone who does QHHT, are they able to go into that life between lifetimes, or is it only specific?
It's not so much a question of being able. I think it's just what is necessary for a person. So for some people, it's just not where they go. Or it can be very, like in the process, there is a place where we give an opening for that. And sometimes people just skip right through. Like I say, what do you see now? What's the next thing that happened? And they go, I'm a baby. Yeah. And then they've just moved on into a different lifetime. Yeah.
Very interesting. Yeah. I'm trying to remember if I went there in the session I did with you, but I don't think so.
I can't remember. No.
Yeah, I think I was like, boom, I'm a lion. Boom, I'm a leprechaun.
Right.
Boom, I'm here.
Yes. Yeah. And there's also a factor of time. Like if that keeps coming up at one point, you know, we need to move on to the subconscious mind. So yeah. So it's depending on what your higher self deems necessary for you to experience.
So for all souls, do you believe that we all chose to be here? And can you explain to us what that process is like?
Yes, I think we all chose to be here. I think we are all slivers or facets of Source, just wanting to experience itself and learn about itself in different environments, different settings. So this particular game that we're in 3D is like the most difficult one, because there is duality here, which is there doesn't seem to be any of it in other levels. And so we have been learning through contrast and strife.
So
and
what
struggle.
can you explain, like, so what would 2D be? Because I never hear about the 2D dimension.
2D, I'm not sure what that is neither.
Or like a movie. Or pictures.
I don't know. I remember reading about it, that it was like elf realm.
Okay.
But I don't know exactly. I don't know. I'm not big on the
elves
numbers.
I've seen looked like they had no personality, so it could be. They were
Really?
very just like they want to do their job.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Could
be
be.
2D.
I don't know what that is. Yeah.
So what's 1D? Nothingness?
I don't know. Yeah.
2D, possible elves. 3D, us. 4D.
4D, I just had a client speak about this. It is between the physical, and then the 5D is more non-physical and more loving, and 4D sounds kind of like a messy dimension where both interact, and it can be quite turbulent.
Yeah, I imagine it like the tunnel between 3D and 5D. You have to move through the 4D, and then 5D is more spirit realm.
Yes, and more heart-based rather than head-based. Yeah.
And then 6th, 7th, 8th, are these just different kind of like aliens or?
To my understanding, my best understanding is that the vibrations get more refined and higher. Mm-hmm. So I think aliens there's many different kinds, so I think they can exist on many of these different realms. And same with like ascended beings, depending on their level of development and how they want to express.
Very interesting. Yeah, because I hear people being like, I'm of the Pleiadian tribe of the 12th dimension. It's like so specific, and I've never received any kind of information like that before, so I've always wondered.
Yeah, I definitely get these people as well. They
Yeah.
have very specific numbers, and then I read about people that have different ways of dividing up the dimensions, like more numbers or less numbers or subsections of the dimensions. So I think, again, it's a human way of trying to grasp what's really going on, but it's really...
It feels so very analytical.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Very interesting. I wonder if, how much of it is like our own personality trying to interpret this massive thing called source.
I think so, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then like certain people, more pitta energies, like I'm of the 12th dimension and I come from this, and it's like this formula, and other people are more just like, I'm light.
Yes.
And just pure feeling.
Right. Yeah. And both are valid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have been on the lookout for an incredible organic skincare company that doesn't use preservatives or synthetics and is also zero waste. And that's when I came across Lowly. And I am so inspired by this company, and also really impressed by the benefits that their elixirs, their serums, their tonics are having on my skin. I'm getting tons and tons of compliments. So I've been loving their plum elixir. It smells amazing, and also removing makeup with their chamomile lavender water. I also am obsessed with their matcha coconut paste. I mean, all of these things I would love to eat as well. And that just shows how high vibe it is when it's all edible products that we can put on our face. So to get your hands on some for 20% off, head over to Lowly Beauty, that is LOLI beauty.com, and use coupon code Sahara for 20% off. So we all know how good apple cider vinegar is for us. I mean, we know we need it in our bodies, but the thing is, it doesn't always taste the best, especially when you have kids or a husband or someone else who's very taste sensitive. We can down a shot, but they can't. And that's why Goli Gummies is about to be your lifesaver. They are vegan, organic, gluten-free, non-GMO gummy bears that contain apple cider vinegar. 2 gummies equals 1 shot of ACV. So I have been obsessed with them. I was just with my nieces and nephew. I was giving it to them. They did not even notice that it had apple cider vinegar in it. And they were getting the detoxifying benefits, the vitamin B12, and all of the good juju that apple cider vinegar has. So if you want to get your hands on some gummy bears, head over to Goli.com and use coupon code Sahara for 10% off. That's Goli, GOLI.com, with coupon code Sahara. So we're a soul. So do you believe that we chose our parents, we chose our obstacles? How much of it do you think was our own soul's choice?
I think most of it, yeah. I remember, I thought it was all of it, but then I had a client recently, and this happens all the time. Once I think I know kind of what is happening, then something happens that is not of that, and I have to adjust. Mm-hmm. And they seem to have just come in with a random set of parents because their genetic or whatever wasn't that important. It was more about the place they came into, or I can't remember the specifics of it, but I thought it was everything, but apparently there's key parts of the life that we choose. Yeah.
Very interesting. Yeah, because sometimes I wonder, I was like, why did I choose to grow up in Boston? Definitely did not want to be there, but
Right.
who knows? Maybe that was like the accident part. Like, okay, we can figure out this much. Boston's just going to have to happen. Sorry. You'll get through it.
I don't know if it's different for different people also. It could be
Yeah.
that way too. Yeah, because again, we try to give everything one system that we kind of can feel secure about, but I don't think it works that way.
So interesting. So I'd love to know, what are some of your past lives?
Let's see. So I've had this process done about 8 or 9 times. So there were a few human ones, twice as an orphan, both a boy and a girl. And then the Spanish Inquisition one. There was a female healer in Southern Africa. Then the sort of alien lives. One was, I looked like a piece of selenite or selenite.
Yeah.
And I found myself sitting in the Amazon rainforest, and as I was sort of relaying concepts about life and agriculture and healing with the people that were around me through sound. I was like emitting sound that carried information. Another alien life was, I was a manufactured being. I was manufactured, and life force was put into me, just enough to be able to carry around and work on the utilities of a domed city somewhere else and somewhat other, and for humanoids, and that's what I did. And I was housed in a silo with other similar beings. That was a past life. There was also something from the Pleiades, and it was one interesting. I started out as an orphan, and I learned to get ahead by over the backs of other people in the orphanage. And in that lifetime, I was meant to drop more into my heart, but I didn't. I was kind of a bully to my friends and my wife. And when I went through that lifetime and looked back at it after I'd gone through it, I realized that my soul had split into both him and the wife, that I was experiencing two sides of that coin at the same time, the bully and the bullied.
Wow.
Yeah. Those are the ones I can remember right now.
So do you think our soul can be simultaneously in different people at the same time?
Yeah, twin flames and soulmates is an aspect of that.
So I'd love to talk to you about like the concept of twin flame and soulmates. How do you see it?
I see it that it is a part of our soul and incarnated in a physical body on the planet in our current lifetime. And so we might meet them or not, as is scripted. So a lot of people place romantic connotations with the term soulmate and twin flame. I do not necessarily see it that way. It can be, but it can also be that person that rubs you the wrong way, or that harsh teacher, or that parent that is really difficult. They can be your teachers as well. That's also possible.
So you see someone that even rubs you the wrong way could be your twin flame?
I mean, it's a short description of it. It's like someone that you're with over a length of time that has an impact on you.
And do you see it as one soul that's split between male and female?
Not necessarily, no.
Okay.
It can also be, like I had a client and her higher self was telling her that she was to get a dog, and that dog was going to hold part of her energy, part of her soul's energy, that she wasn't able to incarnate with all of it at the time she was born because her body wasn't prepped enough. But now, having gone through the experiences that she needed to go through, she was given more of her soul's energy, and it would come through her dog.
I believe that happened with Chubby and me.
There you go.
He is my soulmate.
Yes, my cat as well.
Yeah. I was gone in Bali every day. I'm like, I miss Chubby so much. Stephen's like, you don't miss me. I'm like, but Chubby.
Yes.
I miss him more than anything. Yeah. So then what do you think is the difference between then that twin flame and soulmate?
To my understanding, it's two words for the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah. But I think twin flame people have romantic connotation with it. And so, and that exists for sure, that if you're meant to have a part in this life that is of your soul, that is scripted, that is what you're meant to have, then that's what's going to happen. And it might feel wonderful, but for some other people that might not happen, because it's more important for them to really feel their own self instead of feeling that sort of recognition in another person. Yeah, it's
Very
not.
interesting.
Yeah, I don't think it's there for everyone. Like for me, I think I'm my own soulmate in that respect, or my own twin flame. And it was really important for me to feel that first. And if, I'm married, but I have never met anybody that I had that sort of like transcending experience with. Yeah, just with my process has been about myself. So I've had those experiences with myself, like, oh wow, I'm really, this being or this kind of light, or more specific experiences about myself that I couldn't have had if I were to be linked with somebody else in that way. That's how it was for me. I'm not saying that's what it's like for everybody, but that's my journey.
And that's beautiful to say, because you're happily and newlywed.
I am, yes.
And you and your husband are adorable.
Thank you.
But you still wouldn't consider that your twin flame. I feel like a lot of people just think like, oh, my life partner is just another word for it is twin flame.
Right.
And you're saying how you see it as something more of a spiritual teacher than just your life partner.
Well, it's wider than that. It's broader than that. It can be your life partner, but it can also be like, it can be a difficult experience with somebody that you have. Just a different part of your soul that is there to teach you something.
Yeah. The way that I've heard it the most is that, and I still don't know for myself, but the way that I've heard it the most is that twin flames are that one soul that's split off between that kind of Shiva Shakti counterparts, and that some people have an agreement to meet in this lifetime and some people don't. And then soulmate are, I don't know how many, but numerous people in your lifetime that come and you come together to learn a certain lesson. And oftentimes it is romantic, but not always. But your soulmate could be your grandmother or something like that. But you learn that lesson, and then once you've learned it, you often move on. But the way that a lot of people describe twin flames is like, with that same soul in two bodies, is almost like it's like, Freaky Friday. You're like, you're me, I'm you.
Right.
And I never felt that with my partner. Like, it was very cosmic love, but like, we're very different people too.
Right.
So I'm like, well, then is that more my soulmate or my twin flame? So I call it soul flame.
So, good one.
It's in between.
Right. It's good. Yeah. If you were to ask me this question, like 10 years ago, I would have said whomever I was trying to date at the time, like, oh my God, they're my soulmate, my twin flame, because I was codependent. I used to be codependent. So, and this is what I check for first when people have their question written down, like, will I meet my twin flame, my soulmate? Well, let's look at your self-love. Like, are you there for yourself? Have you acknowledged yourself, your own feelings, who you are as a person on the planet before we go look at that? Yeah.
So good. Yeah. Being your own soulmate, your own soul flame. So what are the because part of this process is you write down a series of 25 questions to ask your higher self, your subconscious, when you're at the end of this hypnotized state. So what are the most common questions you see?
Life purpose. Yeah, people want to find out about their life purpose. If they're on the right path, if they're on the right spiritual path, health issues, different relationships, questions about those. I'd say that's the top 5.
And do people ever answer something that like feels like it came out of total left field? They had no idea, or is it mostly things that they already innately knew?
It can be both, yeah. But sometimes it's like really like out of left field. Yeah.
It's like, what's my life purpose? It's like contractor. They're like, what?
Right. Oh, like that. Oh, we're in life purpose. Yeah. Let's see. I feel like that's something that's somewhere encoded in them anyway. And during this process, like it's more descriptive, gets elaborated on. And so, and then through my questioning, we try to get it very, very clear, like a trajectory towards it, what's going to happen, what are the specifics, than just like, they're here to be love on the planet, which is true, but we want to get a little bit more specific,
So do you think everyone is born with one life purpose? How do you see that?
Yes, to my experience so far, something might happen that would change my opinion. But so far, I think we're here to have, our life is about one thing. Yeah. And so that also includes like people that are walk-ins. Are you familiar with that? Yeah.
Can you explain that?
Walk-ins are, let's see. So you start your journey in a body as one soul. And then after, a while you say, you know what, I've taken on too much. It's too harsh. I can't do this anymore. And rather than let the body expire, another soul comes in.
And is it mostly with a near-death experience, or can it just sometimes happen spontaneously?
It can happen spontaneously.
Okay.
Yeah. And so another aspect that's interesting, because this is the first time I dealt with that a while ago, a client experienced that this walk-in experience wasn't another soul coming in, but it was another part of her soul that took over. It was very fascinating.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm familiar with, I know a walk-in who she had a near-death experience, and then when she came back, she was just a different person.
Yeah.
But I don't know, maybe it actually was a part of her own soul, but it felt very different for everyone.
I think it can be different. Yeah.
Very interesting. So people want to know about their purpose. You feel like it's one purpose, but like how specific is that? Do you see it as more you're born for a certain type of career or certain vibration you're supposed to give out? What do you kind of see in people finding their specific purpose?
Well, it's so varied. A lot of the people that I work with, they're here to help raise the frequency on the planet. And it can be through the outward expression, meaning sort of what it looks like in your life as, influencing people in one way or another. But it can also be more personal purposes, like to know what it feels like to have a family, or to have this partner that is really loving, or to
be a mom.
Yeah, stuff like that. Yeah. But yeah, I think there's one sort of umbrella purpose, and then our specificness as a unique individual determines how we're expressing that.
Yeah, I see it as the same, that we're all here to raise consciousness, but the ways that we do that are so different, and we're kind of given a set of gifts, and then it's like, okay, you can choose what you want to do with these gifts.
Yes, yeah. And for me, like the key to that is joy. Like why do you decide for orange juice or almond milk? What brings you the most joy, and that kind of determines your path.
Love that. So are there any meditations people can do at home to help figure out their purpose or find their past lives?
Find life purpose, like the trajectory that I would suggest is to build in some stillness in your life, some quiet time, whether you call it meditation or just sitting on a bench in your backyard or go to nature, and to tune into your heart and to be present with it. And it's like, what do I want? What brings me joy? And to have that be the intention of your quiet time. And what was the other ask?
And to find their past lives through meditation.
I guess the same thing, to just set an intention for meditation and to go inside and to see if something pops up. But there's tons of help you can get if you can go on YouTube and just go past lives, or there's tons of guided processes that can help you just do the same thing, make it easier on you.
Yeah, I even found, I recently went to Bali Spirit Fest. It was like a spiritual festival. And then even feeling like which classes and spiritual practices do I resonate with? And that helped me understand my past lives, because some lineages feel super at home for me. And then other ones I keep trying and it's still I'm not really feeling it there.
Right.
Getting your hands dirty, getting them in a bunch of different spiritual paint jars and seeing what feels good.
I like that image.
Yeah. So can you share with us a little bit about what people can expect in their QHHT session?
Yeah, it's varied. It's different for everybody. I never know what's going to happen. People can go into lifetimes on the planet, different ones. It can be very mundane, or it can be, the people that we know from as historical figures.
Can you share with us about the boy who remembered Babe Ruth?
Oh, yeah, it's Lou Gehrig, actually.
Yes.
So I didn't work with the boy itself, but with the mom. So this woman gets into my office and she explains that she has a little kid that, since he could talk, started talking to her about remembering his lifetime as Lou Gehrig, the baseball player.
Oh, wow.
And in the beginning, she didn't know what to think of it, because she came from a Christian background and they don't believe in reincarnation. So at one point, she had to admit that there was more going on than just his imagination, because she would take him to like a baseball stadium and there was a giant poster of Babe Ruth on the wall, and the kid had to freak out. He lost it. He was like, that guy was so mean to me. He was really mean to me. I don't like him. So she finally found out of doing past life regression through a friend of hers that I'd worked with. And so she came in, she said, I have this kid. And actually he told me that I used to be his mom in that lifetime as well. And he added to that he likes her now better in this lifetime. But I don't know what to think of this. And so I told her the same thing that I tell everybody. I don't know what we're going to see. This process is about connecting to your higher self and giving you the most appropriate experiences. I'm not here to tell your higher self, go see this or show them that. So we did go into her lifetime as Christina Gehrig, Lou Gehrig's mom.
Oh, she went back to that?
She went back to that, yeah. It's a very, very detailed lifetime where she found out about tchotchkes that she was given, or awards that her son Lou Gehrig had won and given to her, and names of her children. She even spoke a few German words. She knew things about, like, she would go to the Yankee Stadium and I asked her stuff like, well, what are you eating? Are there any snacks or any drinks? And she goes, yes, we're having a cola. That's an old word to say. Nobody calls it cola. And then they would have like hot nuts, like roasted chestnuts or something. So she knew all these things, and she came back twice more to do past life regression, and she would go back into the same lifetime, getting more and more details. So I asked her higher self, why are we doing this? What's the point to all of this? And so it said she is to mine that experience for these details that you can still go fact check with living descendants and relatives, and to add a level of credibility to the concept of reincarnation.
Wow.
And then write a book about it. And so she did, and she wrote a book about it, and it's going to be a movie.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that boy, does he still remember the details, or did he forget as he grew older?
I think he started to forget like around age 6, and research has been done in children remembering past lives, and it seems to be the threshold or the boundary where they get more rooted in their current lifetime and they disconnect from what happened before.
Even though his family is supportive of it, he's still forgetting.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
It is a thing now, of course, because the book is out and there have been interviews in different places. So
what's the book called?
The Boy Who Knew Too Much. Yeah. So he knows that he remembered. I'm not sure if he still remembers those scenes from the past lifetimes.
Wow. Is he good at baseball?
He is.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a baseball prodigy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Came with those skills coded in.
Yes.
And then for the woman who now wrote the book, how does that grapple with her Christian background and this? Does she still practice?
I'm not sure where she's with exactly, but it's definitely opened her mind. And she's more coming from a perspective of love and inclusion rather than, the rigidity of that religion. Yeah.
That's so amazing and so fascinating that her soul chose that specific person. Like it feels almost so random to show the world that past lives exist.
I know, right? Yes.
Yeah.
And it's kind of awesome because it helps people access this material that normally wouldn't be interested because it involves baseball and this person's name, Lou Gehrig, which is a baseball legend. And so it seems to have it seems to be accessible to more people than because of these aspects of it.
Right, because a typical conscious person's not really a big baseball fanatic, but people who are probably not interested in past lives. So the soul chose to bring it into that audience.
Yeah, some of the muggles even look that way. He's like, oh, what, past lives? Yes.
Yeah, that's amazing. And what a beautiful blessing, though it was just divinely orchestrated for her to walk into your office out of all the people out there.
I know. I mean, I don't know what we were thinking when we were sitting as souls together. You're going to do this. One day you're going to show up in my office, and then we're going to go on this wonderful journey together.
When she came in, did you feel like you recognized her, or just felt like a random person?
Well, I felt a connection, but I thought it was because we were both Geminis. We were like, just talking and laughing, and I can clock in Gemini anywhere. So even though we were from different backgrounds, we had such a great time and we connected so well. We were just laughing, and it was it was just such a fun time. And but it makes me wonder afterwards, is that because we knew each other, or is it just we're so similar in personality? Yeah.
So interesting. Okay, this is so cool. So for people out there listening, where can people book a session with you, connect with you, and experience your work firsthand?
So the easiest way is to check into my Instagram. It has all the information. My Instagram is my first name, which is spelled Jeroen, and then my affirmation is love. So Jeroen is love is my Instagram. It has a book button, email button. It has a Linktree link to all of my other information. So that's really the hub for all the information in order to do this. My office is in the Valley. I live in Valley Village, so that's why I conduct my sessions. If you're not in the LA area, I only do these QHHT processes in person. So if you want your session and you live somewhere else, there's tons of practitioners all over the world. So if you go to DoloresCannon.com and use the Find a Practitioner feature, you can locate somebody close by. And then I suggest that you look at different people's websites and you just check out, you figure out who you feel the most of a match with and just go with them. Yeah.
Well, guys, if you're ever in the LA area, I highly recommend setting out a day to do this. It's how long? 4 or 5 hour process?
Yeah, between 4 and 5 hours, sometimes even a little bit longer.
So set out a full day, because after you're going to want to journal and think and, debrief for a bit.
Yes.
And in my session, I was first a leprechaun / elf thing, which is interesting because that's like the mystical being archetype I like least resonate with normally, because I work a lot with the mystical beings and I'm like mermaid, fairy, and unicorn. And then I was like elf, who wants to be by themselves and read. But it was just showing me that aspect of me that does kind of want to be alone and just like in my knowledge, the scholar. And then also seeing how being around people is a pretty good thing too. And then what else? I actually wrote them all down. Oh, the figure skater who is performing in front of a dark city. And that was showing how there's no point in having a beautiful gift and skill if you have no one to share it with. And I feel like that was a little more metaphorical.
Symbolic.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then the lion, just the lioness with her lion. And it was just like, be a queen. Because she was just chilling all day in the sun, just letting it come. And then when she wanted something, she would just, boom, go get it. And it was like, you don't need to hustle, just be a queen.
Yeah.
And execute when necessary only, and then go back to being in your queendom. Oh, I had 2 more. Then there was the princess in the rose garden who didn't like it and wanted to escape. And,
because she was kind of trapped in like a golden cage.
Yeah, because she was trapped,
Yes.
and she didn't want to be with the prince, and she wanted to have a life of freedom,
Yes.
which was symbolic of what my life really could have and probably would have become had I not stepped in.
Right.
And then the ganja man,
Yes. Oh, thanks for reminding me of that.
who's always been my alter ego in this lifetime. I'm always like, half of me is like, I just need to move to Jamaica and like just chill. I honestly don't smoke weed. I don't know why I decided to be a weed dealer. Just like how happy he was and walking on the beach and selling his pineapple and drumming for the tourists and just like having fun. And, sometimes I'm like, why do I work so hard? I should just be the ganja man.
Right, because that was about contentment and joy. Or
just like total, like you don't need anything to be happy. Just a beach, some music, some fruit, you're good.
Yes. So that's a really beautiful description of how it can work when you connect to these different lifetimes.
Yes.
You access qualities that might have been dormant inside of you or that you need to have more of. It can be like a download.
Yeah.
That's the way how it can work.
Yeah. And when they all started, I mean, I could feel my like ego self, like judging of like, why did I choose this lifetime? I want to be like Saraswati. Like, I want to do something cooler. Oh, leprechaun, can we keep this moving? Like, But then in everyone, I just was like, okay, I'm just going to go with the flow and see what happens. Even though parts of it, I would actually start laughing because of how ridiculous
and how random
my image was.
Right.
Literally, I was imagining Will Ferrell and Elf at certain points.
Yes.
Green outfit. And then, but a cartoon face. I was like, why am I doing this? But then in every lifetime, when I really just like surrendered and let it move through, there was always a lesson. And, since you're also in your body at that time, I was like, oh, now I get it, even while I was going through it.
Yes.
So, and I just noticed a huge difference in my own ability to surrender from the first time I did it to this second time that I did it with you. Because the first time I was very in my analytical brain of like trying to understand what was happening and make sense and, like judging it while I was trying to go through it. And this time I did a lot better of a job of just going in it without observing.
Yeah, and it's different for everybody, but it is like that, like you said, it is accumulative. Like the more you do it, the better you can navigate your inner waters. Mm-hmm. And then I've seen great shifts happen in people, and people that were completely zonked out or sort of in a dream state or like hyper alert. It doesn't really seem to matter, like your level of awareness of your process and how much of your conscious mind is sort of commenting on it. Mm-hmm. As long as you can keep yourself, and with help of your practitioner, in the images, you can keep focusing on it. That seems to be the channel that the healing happens through.
Yes. Yeah. And also both times I've done it, when I ask myself those questions, I always know the answer. It's like always things that I already know in my normal life. But for some reason, I think my subconscious must like have awareness of something I don't know, but it's like we are our own subconscious.
You are it. You are your higher self.
Yes.
Yeah. And so, a lot of people now, they experience the higher self more as themselves because that's what we're doing right now.
Yes.
So there's less of a sort of spectacular switch between who you're not and then your higher self. It's more one thing these days. And to learn to trust that, because trusting yourself is the one message that is being told to people over and over again. Trust yourself, trust your heart, trust your own experience. Learn to validate your own experience over the voices of the world or whatever the world's trying to tell you should be or you shouldn't be. Your reference point is who you are, your own self. That's what it says.
Love it. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of your wisdom with us and for sharing your gifts and for helping so many of us tap into our own highest selves.
Thank you. It was a joy connecting with you.
How beautiful was that episode with Jeroen? I loved chatting with him because he's someone who's very non-judgmental. That's what I would say. He lets you have your own experience, whatever it is, and he just holds that space. And I think that that's what a true healer does. They don't impose what they think and what they want. They're just like, there's no right or wrong. I'm open to all spectrums. And it's so beautiful to be able to be held in that space of all potentiality. So I'm very grateful for him. Someone who's regressed Babe Ruth's mom to be here on the High Self podcast, sharing his wisdom with us. So you can learn more about him on his website, Jeroen, QHHT. It's JEROEN, QHHT.com, and have a live session with him in LA. He also travels. He has a level 1 companion class if you want to learn more about it, and follow him on Instagram. Jeroen is love. And just as a reminder, while you have your phone out, if you want to sign up for my absolutely free 5-day Rose Gold Goddess Challenge, head over to rosegoldgoddesses.com and you'll be able to sign up absolutely free. I cannot wait to see you there. Namaste.